Hello and welcome to the Gooner Tour, back again with you guys for another episode of our preview series looking ahead to the next Arsenal fixture. I'm joined this evening, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you happen to be in the world. For him, it's now this evening. It would be this lunchtime, but I'm joined by Mike. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
Doing all right. Wearing the club legend.
Yeah, I did think that I said before I was coming on this to myself, I was like, right, I've got to put the black shirt on, and then I haven't. I didn't change.
Mr. Clickbait himself, Tom Canty.
Hey, I got a few people with that one.
Even puts a picture of Granit Xhaka up there with it, and just to get you even more.
So I had the idea to write, because I wanted to write an article about it being the last time we'll see the black shirt, because obviously we're not going to use the home shirt, and the third shirt's been thrown in the bin as far as I'm concerned. We don't use it. We've never used it again.
What is it? Is it the pink one this year, or was that last year?
Was it Bournemouth the last time we used it? I don't remember the last time we used that kit.
I can't remember, but
no, I have no idea. But yeah, I was like, right, I want to do a story about the fact that we're losing the black kit. Obviously, I'm going to use an image of one of the players wearing the black kit. But the thing is, if I say that an icon is leaving, whoever I put, people are going to go, why are they leaving? So I thought Xhaka was like the safest bet. Because
I'm like, why are we saying goodbye to him in our penultimate game rather than the we could say goodbye to him next Sunday. But I fell for it. I fell for the F.LTC.
I thought people would be like, smart enough that they would have realized to think that I've not been silly enough to make the mistake that we have 2 games, and they would have read the article. But no, it shows how many people don't read articles. They just go off of what the picture says. Anyway, we're here to talk about, and yes, Amira, absolutely, we're doing an article dedicated to that kit because it's the best kit of all time. It's the
Aston kit. It will always be known as the Aston kit.
But if anything, he made the reputation that kit worse. Like, yeah. So, but no, we love you, Aston. No, but in the terms of the game tomorrow, obviously, it's a weird one because I think it was Tim Stillman was talking on the Vision podcast, listening to another podcast about podcast inception. I can't remember what the name of it was. I think it might be called the Football Cliches, where he said that they were talking about the time when, like, a team's in a relegation battle, they're safe because their goal difference is so much bigger than the other teams, but they can't say they're safe because, the goal difference is still could be surmountable if they scored 20 goals. And it kind of feels that way about this. Like, the likelihood that Man City will get 1 point from their next 3 games is just not there. So how are you feeling about tomorrow's game?
Now, I happen to be ashamedly, but in attendance when they I can't even call it beat Real Madrid. That was a murder. What we saw on Wednesday night, and watching that team play that game, I think that they can get a result. I think they'll lose the next 2 games and then they'll get a draw at Brentford.
If that happens and we win our 2 games, we win the league, right?
That's what I'm saying. We're winning the league.
Yeah. No, but it's funny. I was talking to Umar this morning on the Arsenal Way about this, and I said, look, what's really funny is that, like, we beat Forest, right? And then Chelsea, who, are terrible, but, they took a point off Liverpool this season, and they've beaten, they beat someone else out of the season as well. That was a surprise. If they were to just, like, get a draw, you can see City going to Brighton, losing, and then it goes to the last game of the season somehow. You can see it, can't you?
I think we'll be seeing City getting a guard of honor and playing their second team, which is good enough to win the Premier League by itself, against Brighton. I actually do think that they'll lose against Brighton, but not for the reason that you just said.
They'll beat Chelsea and then they'll lose the last 2 games, and that'll really annoy me because
then the VAR thing at Brentford.
Of if we'd have beaten, which is a load of bollocks, basically, because, if we had have beaten those teams and we were still pressurizing them, they would be playing their best team against those last 2 games. But they won't do that if won the league. They'll throw in Cole Palmer and they'll throw in, anyone to just get minutes on the pitch, which is, still come the end of the season, you will see those people going, well, if we'd have beaten those teams, we'd have won the league. It's like, no. Because they would have beaten Brighton and Brentford with their best teams.
It doesn't work that way. People just need to stop.
But that's the way that some people are going to try and make you think that it works. So just be prepared, people, for that. Forest is not a great place for us.
Especially when you go.
Yeah, when I go, which is the last time I went, and I was it's actually quite funny, surrounded by some funny people when I was there. But when I was there, I witnessed an absolute scream. I can't remember who scored it, but they scored an absolute screamer in the FA Cup, and it was Per Mertesacker's last game he ever played, I think, for Arsenal that game.
Wasn't that the game that didn't Xhaka score a goal in that game?
Yeah,
that was
I think
the
we
first
won 1-0
time,
and then lost 2-1.
Yeah, and that was the game where one of our ex-players, it wasn't Fran Marita, it was the other guy, was just being a complete ass. I mean, he was leaving leaving feet in and elbows, and I forget who it was. It was a midfielder that just never quite. He was always playing in the League Cup for Arsene Wenger, like when we used to trot the kids out. I can't remember who it was though, but
he lost 4-2. I can't remember. I didn't remember it was 4-2. Eric Lehigh scored twice. Ben Brereton Diaz, who has gone on to do some big things, is making a significant move this summer. Scored a penalty. Kieran Dow also scored a penalty, but Xhaka didn't score. Per Mertesacker scored, and Danny Welbeck scored. The Xhaka goal came in.
It was a different.
It was a different game. We won, was it 4-0 in the League Cup? And Xhaka scored from miles. Luis Perez got 2 goals that game as well.
Right.
So, yeah, that's an interesting one looking back. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain got the 4. But, yeah, it's not been a happy hunting ground for us. Do you feel as though that we'll be comfortably winning 5-0 again, or is it going to be very different?
I think these last 2 games, the kind of the air's out of the balloon, and the team's going to play with a little bit of, loose comfort, and I mean, you could just tell we were just not on against Brighton. I mean, there was just between there still being a chance of us having something to do with the league title at the end of the season. It just didn't happen for us. But I think there's just kind of that game has just given us kind of a little bit of a exhale, just concentrate on playing football. The league's gone. Let's just, let's finish off. So I do think that we're going to be a bit more comfortable against Forest than you saw us at home against Brighton. Last time I saw an Arsenal game against Forest, it was right back here. And
there it is. I was wondering how you'd shoehorn the fact that you're in hybrid.
If you're not going to bring it up, then I am. And that was the game where where this Super Kev guy scored his first goal for Arsenal. So,
I saw you with someone who looked like Super Kev as well. Is that another plug?
You can't say that. But yeah, my private life is to be kept private, except for when I post about it on Twitter.
Exactly. No, I'm sure you're going to love it. It was great to see you together. I saw him at the City game. We were talking about, anything can happen. And we got battered. So yeah, that was a fun one. In terms of how we play this one out, then Arsenal have got some injury issues. Gabriel Martinelli is confirmed to be out for the rest of the season, as are Saliba and Zinchenko, who join the likes of Tomiyasu and Del Neni, etc., on the injury table, as Arsenal's injury woes just continue to pile up. Do
you still want Caicedo after that tackle?
Yeah, mate. I think if anything, it shows his kind of how much he's willing to protect his teammates after Mitoma got smashed.
That's the spin that we got to do. Yeah, he ligamented one of our guys, but you could see how much he just wanted it more.
Yeah, he just wanted to get him back after what he did to his mate. So I respect it. I don't like it, but I respect it. And to be fair, he did tweet afterwards. Did you see?
Yes, that was pretty unusual.
Yeah, that was really strange. You don't tend to see players do that, especially when the injury hadn't even been confirmed at that stage as well. So, very interesting indeed. But yeah, we
hashtag ATID. It was really weird. I took that as a little bit of a hint.
Yeah, I mean, well, what does it stand for?
Arsenal till I die.
Oh, I was trying to go in my head like, what? Because when you see it like in front of you, you're like, oh yeah. But then when someone says ATI. You're like, What are you talking about?
I should have gone with COYG, but
yeah, that would have been more obvious. Yeah, but ATID. Yeah, okay. But yes, the lineup, there's got to be some selection kind of choices, because Jorginho wasn't like, and we'll come on to who we would like to see start in shortly, but Jorginho wasn't amazing. Tierney wasn't necessarily amazing. Gabriel Jesus wasn't amazing against Brighton. There were a lot of Saka neither. There was a lot of dull performances. Do you think he'll pick the same team again, barring, Martinelli and the obvious Trossard coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I think given the injuries, the team pretty much picks itself this week. And assuming nothing changes from this week due to injuries or anything like that, or red cards or anything like that, I think we'll see the same thing a week from Sunday week. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're going to put up the predicted lineups, but I think it's and it's the lineup that I would want. There's really no tough decisions to make with this 11. Yeah, there it is.
That's what you've gone with. I should have been more specific to Mike when I said give me your 11, because this is the 11 he thinks is going to be played rather than the one that he wants. But I mean, is it the one that you want? Would you make any changes?
You also asked for my team, and I'm like, you've known me for 7 years. You know who my team is.
It's 7 years. I thought it was
7 years. This, I mean, I'm trying to think of what else I would do given the players that are available. I mean, the only real substitutions you can make would be holding over QVR, but that's not happening.
Nope.
You could potentially see Reece Nelson if Saka's going to be rested. That would be one thing that you would do. But no, other than that, I mean, this 11 is, I think, our strongest 11 of available players at the moment.
For the benefit of those listening on audio, Ramsdale, White, Kivior, Gabriel, Tierney, Jorginho, Xhaka, Odegaard, Saka, Gabriel Jesus, and Trossard is the team. From my perspective, I did actually go with Nelson, and I took Gabriel Jesus out. I've not necessarily been that, the last game was a real disappointment, I think, from Jesus' perspective. I thought when Trossard was playing centre forward, obviously we had a great record with him playing. And when Jesus came back, he was scoring goals and doing well, and I didn't see any reason to drop him. But I think getting Nelson into the team, I'd like to see, this potentially be the starting 11 on Saturday. I don't think it will be. I think Jesus will, of course, start. I think Trossard will start. I think what you put is what we'll see. But I'd love to see Nelson given an opportunity. I think he's looked the brightest of any player that's come off the bench in the last few games. He's always offered something. He's always created problems, made a run, played a pass,
And we're trying to those 2 goals. And we're trying to convince him to re-up a contract. Exactly. I think we might actually see that. Whether it's because of slotting Trossard over for Jesus, or whether it's in place of Saka, to give him some minutes. That I think that's a good shout. And I can't have this lineup though, because I made a bet with Dan Potts before the season. It was like a charity bet, £50.
Total sacks. Is that what it was?
No, that the combined Premier League goal total for Eddie and Gabby Jesus would be over 17.5, and I think they're at 14 right now. So I really need.
Oh wow!
I need these 4 goals, and so if neither one of them are playing. What'd you say?
In the Premier League.
Yeah, just Premier League goals. Okay. I think
3 goals in 2 games.
I think Gabby's got 10, Jesus has got 10, and Eddie's got 4, I think. So I wasn't counting on Jesus being out for 6 months, and then
I feel as though that should null and void the bet, to be honest. Because obviously, if he was there, I remember I had a bet when Olivier Giroud signed for us with one of my best men from my wedding. Actually, I said he'll score 20 Premier League goals. And I think he got to something like 17. And then he got that red card at Fulham, which meant he missed the last 3 games of the season. I was fuming.
I had a bet when we signed Olivier Giroud that he would be the first dude I've ever made out with. But and
it was Dan Potts after all. Amira says, I'd love to see restart on the left this game, but knowing Arteta, he'd start Trossard to give him a chance to redeem himself after last week. And if he says there, if Jesus, hadn't have got injured, he would have scored more, in my opinion, this season. It seemed, though, we'll come on to predictions, but because it's just me and you, I want to have a chat about transfers and stuff as well. It seems like, the priorities are midfield, mainly in the market. And I feel as though when you look at the number of goals we've conceded compared to scored, goal scoring has not been a problem for us this season at all. Conceding goals, we've conceded 42 with 2 more games still to play. City have considered.
And that really, I mean, we started off the season with clean sheets and leading defensive statistics. I mean, it just really kind of went wrong quickly. I wonder what happened like month or two ago that might have caused or contributed to this. It's almost like we lost one of our best defenders.
Yeah, I think obviously the loss of Saliba, but also Tomiyasu has been a massive part of that. I disagreed with Jamie Carragher's analysis of this. I think the tagline on the tweet, which to be fair, tweets don't always tell the full story, which is why you should always read the full article or the video in that case. But I think that the tweet was something like, it's a myth that Arsenal weren't conceding goals even when Saliba was there, or weren't conceding goals until he left, because obviously we had that dip of form after the World Cup that Saliba experienced, and that in turn saw us concede more goals. It's a myth to say, or it's incorrect to say that Arsenal without Saliba then didn't concede more goals, say, than when they were there before. But after the World Cup, it was a dip, and we saw that, but we were still picking up points because his influence on the team in terms of his progression of the ball was just so much better. Tim Stillman talked about how his impact on the likes of Saka has been significant, and it's a good point, because when you go into the summer, surely we've got to be looking at that right centre-back / right-back position. And
what type of player, though, because you really, it'd be hard to upgrade on the four that we have. But the issue happens when we're missing one or two, or in this case, three now, in Saliba, Zinchenko, and Tomiyasu. How do you convince a top player that can really push for that starting position and keep Saliba on his toes, but also be happy enough? I just feel like at that position, it's harder to have two starters for the position than it would be, say, in Saka's position or Martinelli, Trossard type of thing. They're much more interchangeable, and you see those players get subbed in and out, and so they're not playing 95 minutes twice a week. But for center backs, I mean, how do you keep everyone happy? What type of player profile? I mean, you can't bring in Gvardiol like City apparently looking to do.
Yeah, well, I think I really like Mohamed Simakan and the links to him. I think that centre-back, right-back hybrid style that White has turned into, I think, is the way forwards. I think that Simakan offers more going forwards than what White does, and that's evident in the number of goals and assists he's got playing right-back for Leipzig. But, you've got the option to then sub out White, or if you want to rest Saliba, you can bring White into the defence and move Simakan to right-back, or vice versa. It gives you those choices. So I think that it's the right-back area that needs to be focused on in order to give you that Saliba relief, because White has that potential to still be a very, very good right-sided centre-back. So for all of that, I think that that's the way in which you get around it. Yes, you're not going to be able to convince a defender to come in and say, you're going to be, competing with William Saliba, and then we're going to go, no, I'm not coming, because that's, I'm not going to get any minutes. But if you bring someone who can play right-back and centre-back, then you offer up opportunities, and I think that's probably the way.
Well, forward. And that's Arteta's and Edu's MO. I mean, they've every single defender that we've signed, other than the two center defenders, they can play almost everywhere across the back. And so I do think you're right. It's more going to be of a right back cover. And then what does that mean for Tomiyasu? Does he become the utility guy?
Yeah, but I think Tomiyasu covers a lot of left back for next season as well. And Arteta likes him there, has used him there over Tierney. If I had the choice of using Tierney or Tomiyasu if he was fit, I'd be picking Tomiyasu tomorrow. So I just think that he suits what Arteta wants from that position. I saw Babs tweet out earlier on today saying the disrespect towards Zinchenko this season has been significant, because I got into a couple of debates with people about the terminology that was used, but the tweet was, Zinchenko is way too disrespected. Bro took us from top 4 battles to a title charge, and we're still questioning if he starts next season. And people are pointing out saying, well, what about Saliba? And the fact is, it's like, just because he's not mentioned Saliba and not mentioned these other players doesn't mean that it's not credible to say that Zinchenko has been a part of the reason, and a big part of the reason why we've gone as far as we have, because he's changed the way that we've played. So if Tierney goes, do you think that we will look to bring in a left back, or do you think it would just be Tomiyasu that is there?
I'd actually say I would tend to think if Tomiyasu is, if the physios believe that he's not just breaking down left and right now. I don't even know what this latest injury was, but it just seems like a
serious knee injury from the sounds of things. I think he will be having surgery, so you'd hope that corrects the problem. But he might not be back until like September, late September, from the sounds of things.
I don't think that we go into the season with just a healthy Zinchenko, because we don't even know how healthy he's going to be. Yeah, I think you have to do something for left back cover. My first choice would be to convince KT to re-up or at least stay through the year. I don't want to see him playing at Newcastle. I do think that he's a valuable part of this team. I do think that that Mikel can probably appeal to him to stick with this, to play Champions League football, which he'll also get at Newcastle. But so I'm not ready to say goodbye to Kieran Tierney yet.
I am now. I've made my peace with it.
Really?
I don't know if you saw my tweet. I tweeted a flip flop and said this is my opinion on Kieran Tierney for the last month, because I've just gone back and forth on it so much, and I think I've settled now on he's too much of a financially sellable asset that doesn't fit what Arteta wants to keep. And I just think if Arsenal can get upwards of 40 million, which I think is possible, I still fear we'll end up getting like 30 mil from Newcastle and Edu will accept it. And we have to try and
how can we get 40 from Liverpool for a 1 year remaining Oxlade-Chamberlain and not get 45 for Kieran Tierney?
Well, and from a team that are not exactly, down on cash in Newcastle. It will suck to see him go to Newcastle. I think he'll thrive at Newcastle in that system under Eddie Howe. And I think we'll probably go turn around and go, look, this is what we could have had. And then it's not, because we don't play the way. We don't use that system. And so whilst he may flourish in the Northeast...
That's like watching Nuno Tavares, tearing down the left wing in Marseille. Well, yeah, if we were playing three at the back, he'd make a great wing back. But
well, it's like Lille fans going, I can't believe we're going to go and watch Nicola Pepe thrive at Arsenal. The system doesn't suit Pepe. It's never really suited Pepe, and even under Emery and then Arteta, it didn't work. So it's all about getting the right players. That's why I've said that I'd go and get Rafael Guerreiro from Dortmund on a free. He's 29 years of age, yes, sure, but he's on a free contract. He brings great competition, starting quality to Zinchenko. Got Player of the Month for Dortmund in March, playing in centre midfield. He's got that versatility to his game. So, I think that's one. Joao Cancelo is the other name, obviously being talked about a lot. Would you take him for 50 million?
Yeah. As long as he's not an attitude problem guy. I mean, I don't really know the reasons why Pep let him go so quickly, but it
seemed like there was a bit of a issue behind the scenes. I mean,
and that's if you got to be really careful with that.
Yeah, of course, and you always have to be careful. I think that I don't know. Obviously, we don't know what happened. My assumption would be is that he was frustrated with the lack of minutes because, he started to switch things. Basically, he started to change things up in the defense. He was tweaking all the way through the first half of the season, and finally settled on this Stones hybrid role that got what he wanted out of adding an extra player into it. Because obviously, when you use a player like Haaland, that changes everything about the way you play. So you're not going to be using the inverted role in the same way. The same way with Arsenal, if we suddenly put an Erling Haaland up top, we aren't going to play in the same way. And so Pep's basically spent the whole season working out how he structures the squad to get the ball to Haaland in the best possible way and keep, and that's why goals from Grealish and Foden and Mahrez have gone down significantly, but they still win games at a canter because they've got the quality and they've got Erling Haaland now playing at the top of his game and being serviced in the best possible way. And unfortunately for Cancelo, he was a bit of a victim of that shift, whereas Arsenal aren't doing that. Arsenal are kind of playing as close to what City used to play as with that inverted fullback. So maybe, Cancelo would flourish still because he's not necessarily flourished at Bayern either.
Yeah, and as I was talking about his potential attitude issues, I was thinking like Peeny Ween has said, and I had to say that name. That Trossard,
a legend.
Peeny Ween. I love me some Peeny Ween. Please don't clip that.
Do you have some in Chicago?
He said, Trossard did have a behind-the-scenes issue as well. I think that was specifically about contract and being told one thing by Potter and then another by De Zerbi. But yeah, I mean, you just have to check those things out. I'm not saying that.
That's what Brighton fans call him now. So
what, Peeny Ween?
So yeah. Steve says City can't see City selling him to us.
Can you imagine? I mean, will City ever sell anyone to us again?
I mean, to be fair, I really don't think. I think people are making too much of that. I really do think they're making too much of this whole thing. I think that look, if Arsenal were to stump up 50 million for a player they're not going to play, they're like, yeah, we're under so much financial stress. We need to start making the books look good. If you're going to give us a lot of money for our players, we'll take it. We basically paid for 2/3 plus of what Haaland cost them for Jesus and more.
Well, the official money that they cost them. We don't know
the
about
buyout clause. Yeah. Other than not the wages and stuff. Yeah,
the 250 million quid that they had to pay to his dad under the table. But no, I do kind of think it's a thing now though, because if they have a rival in the Premier League right now, it's us. And
absolutely.
And they can look back and see that they've kind of contributed to making it that way in some way, both with the coach and the players that they sold to us. So I'm not so sure that they would sell to us again. I mean, it's kind of, it's the reverse of 15 years ago where we sold them our entire starting 11 over the course of 3 seasons. But
I mean, it's kind of the opposite in a way in which we're taking the off cuts, if you like. And I know that really disrespects Zinchenko and Jesus, and
we've always done that. We've taken the surplus to requirement players from Real Madrid, from Man City. Now that's always been what we do, and from Barcelona. I mean, Alexis Sanchez couldn't get in the game because of David Villa and that Leo guy.
Well, Alexis didn't fit into the Pep mindset at all. Like, really didn't kind of.
No, but I knew that signing was going to be. I mean, you could just tell that he was one of these guys that, and kind of like Gabby Jesus and Zinchenko, where you just know if they were on any other team, they would be megastar, and that's what we got, at least for a period of time.
Now, Sam points out rightfully in the chat that we've already made a signing. I don't know if you've seen this, but we've signed the Super Chocolate Labrador. What do you make of it? I think it's great. I love it.
I'm not gonna name the guy, but there's a very well-known YouTuber who tweeted like figures that Arsenal would buy a dog named Win when we've done no winning or we've won nothing all season or something like that. But
yeah, I tweeted earlier saying the tactical breakdown on the Chocolate Labrador will be coming out ASAP. Insight from Battersea Dog.
Chocolate Labrador sounds delicious. I can't eat it anymore since the surgery, but it sounds sumptuous.
Well, they're not for eating and they're very cute. So, and that is designed. This is the thing. Like, the people that would moan about this are just the people that, like, for any excuse.
I think Arsenal just did this to flush out the see you next Tuesdays in the fan base. Just like, if you can't at least just say nothing if you don't like the fact that they're tweeting
about a dog. Come on. Who is genuinely using this as a bat to beat Arsenal with? Like, we bought a dog in, which is scientifically they're proven to help with like stress and stuff like that. I think it's great. I'd love them to bring it.
Does that go towards FFP though? Like is that? Do we amortize the dog over 5 years?
His wages as well. He must be on par with Saka's new deal, surely. Like, if he's if he's got a job for the whole team, he needs to be earning. I'm saying I don't know. I'm just we are. I know nothing of the dog. Is it called Win? Is that what it's actually called?
Yeah, it's called. Well, it says it's affectionately known as Win. And yes, well. I just checked. You can amortize the dog over 5 years.
Chelsea
which is 35 dog years. So it's a really.
I was going to say Chelsea would have given it an 80-year dog year contract.
It's one of those new Chelsea contracts.
As Sam says, okay, don't let Mike anywhere near that poor bloody dog. Yeah, no, we won't. We won't at all. Yeah, look, I'm going to go to predictions then. So, scoreline tomorrow, scoreline and scorers, please.
3-1. We're going to see goals from Trossard, Kivior with his. I think he's going to break his duck tomorrow. God, this is the brokenest bell. And we'll go with Odegaard with another one. That would be his 16th or 17th Premier League goal if he scores tomorrow.
That would be his record-breaking 16th. I think 16. Let me have a quick check. I'm pretty sure it's 16.
Didn't I see it? Maybe it was non-penalty goals, but like, didn't I see Dele Alli was like super high up that list?
So Dele Alli got
There was a list
18.
that didn't include some people, and then I think there was a technicality that it
No. So Dele Alli got 18 in one season. I think it was 15-16 or 16-17. But he played in the wide area on a number of games, and he scored in them as well. Like, so the argument is that he wasn't a quote unquote midfielder because he was playing on the right or the left, and that's why it doesn't count. Dele Alli. He will obviously turn around. I think I probably would as well and be like, no, I'm a midfielder and I surely have got the record. You know what I mean? So, but no, yeah, you played in the wide areas. Odegaard's played the same position all season, from, the De Bruyne role, if you like, and De Bruyne is the man that he is looking now to beat the record of because he's equaled him, and it would be 16 if he does score. So that's the kind of thing that, other than the tiny, tiny hope of a title that we've still got left, it's without a doubt the Odegaard record that I'm hoping. Surely that's for you as well.
Yeah.
I don't know why for some reason my Chrome is frozen. I can't see StreamYard. My Chrome. You can still see and hear me, right? Correct?
Yeah. No, you I've noticed nothing. I've noticed no change in you, and I mean over the 7 years that I've known you.
There you go. Yeah. So I can't see StreamYard at the moment. So until there we go. I can see it. Finally, I can see it. Okay. Tom says 5-1 to the Arsenal and Chelsea to make it interesting with a 3-2 victory. Keep up the great work, boys. Thank you, Tom. Obviously a good friend of yours as well. And
Tom is fantastic. And I'm coming. There'll be no Arsenal game, but that doesn't mean I can't see you. I'll be down in June again, Tom. So we'll have to get you'll have to come down to me this time and see the place. We can hang with the unicorn.
Anyway, I'm going for a 2-1. I think 2-1 Arsenal win on the day. Alday's going for a 4-0. Gunjake's going for a 4-1. Trossard, Nelson, Jesus. That's not your boy, Jake, is it?
I'm literally I'm embarrassed. I'm trying to figure out whether that's Jake or not. Jake, is that you?
Is he with? I was going to say, is he not in the room?
No, he's not. I think he went to the shop to.
Okay. He's watching on his own now. Steve says 2-1 Arsenal. And Stephen says, hi Tom, hope you're well. I am Stephen, thank you so much for asking. Yes, so there's no 8 a.m. show tomorrow because I'm going to be on a train. I'm getting one of the very early trains up and going up at 8:20 and getting up there very early indeed because I know a few people up there, so I'm seeing some friends.
Will we see you?
Hopefully, I'm hoping that you'll see me at some stage, yeah. But obviously, it depends on how long the mix zone takes. If the players are quick out, basically what happens is if we lose, they're usually quite quick getting out. So it depends. But there you go. Thank you.
They walk back. The phone's like facing the wrong direction and it's upside down.
Oh, goodness me, yeah. Hugh says 2-0 Arsenal. Saka and Xhaka to score, and Paul says 4-0. But either time might get that score. Yeah, either team might get that scoreline depending on what happens. Mike, thank you so much for jumping on. Really appreciate your time, mate. Give yourself a shout out and a plug.
Always good to talk to you. You can follow us at the Gooners Pod, and if you ever want to stay at Highbury, DM me.
Literally just realised the live from Highbury.
You've just seen that? Oh, so I could have put something completely
inappropriate. Yeah, I would have not have noticed. Not a chance. Yeah, no, not a chance. But no.
And no, Gooner Jake isn't my Jake. He's from Namibia. So.
Not your Jake. So the Jake in the chat has had to confirm. No, I'm from Namibia. So yeah, definitely not the same Jake.
Not only is he not my son, he's as far away from me. He wants to be as far away from me as possible.
But no, it's fantastic to see we've got Namibian listeners tuning in. So, Jake, thank you for your time, mate, as always. Thank you to everyone that's listening.
The Gooners Pod was we were taking.
Was it like climbing up the charts in Mozambique? I was number one in Ethiopia once, and that was a proud moment. I really did, So and Uganda, which is where my aunt's from Uganda. So
is Peter, the Arsenal DJ. He's from
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, when we went to his wedding the week after yours. It was like a traditional Ugandan wedding. It was
really.
We were definitely the only two Jewish people in that place. But,
yeah. Well, I'm going to, as I told you, I'm going to a Muslim stag do on Sunday, which means no drinking, which is probably going to be great. I mean, I'm so scared of hangovers these days that it's a blessing, I think. So I'm looking forward to it. But
you're scared of hangover. He just looks over his shoulder in case there's a hangover.
I'm so scared of him. Like I managed to avoid all hangovers.
To be scared of
honestly, I have a phobia. I've developed a phobia of hangovers. I'm so My head is so bad. My stomach gets so bad the morning after like a really big drinking session. But to be fair, it's mainly, I think, if it's lager. If I'm drinking like, if I'm mojitos, I'm usually fine, and I had plenty of mojitos on the day of the podcast in Chicago. So,
Malbec Mike was out in Liverpool last night, so it was not a good scene. We closed down the Cavern Club, but thanks for having me on. Always love chatting with you, and I will see you tomorrow.
Indeed, you will. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As I say, there won't be any live 8 a.m. shows over the weekend because I say I'm up early tomorrow on the train. I'm hoping to record something maybe after the game at some point that might go out at 8 o'clock the following morning or later that Saturday night. But it all depends because I can't be waking, the people that are very kindly putting me up at 8 a.m. to do a live show. That might be taking it a bit far. And I'm not driving, so I can't even sit in my car. But thank you, everybody, for listening. Really appreciate your time. As always, I'll see you again very, very soon. Have a fantastic Friday evening and weekend. And it's been a pleasure. Speak to you soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.